The Hog's Die is brought to you by TicketClub.com, your one-stop shop for live events nationwide. Whether you're looking for game, theater, or live performance tickets, don't sweat it. TicketClub.com has you covered. So make sure you're going there for all your live entertainment needs, and make sure you're clicking over to them from the banner at the top of thehogsdie.com.
By fans, for fans, the Hog Style. And now, here's your host, Sean Conti.
Welcome to the Hog's Die, DC's unofficial source for all things Redskins and the NFL. We're back at it again with another episode. The Redskins were shut out today, just 1 week after picking up their first win of the season. That is super disappointing. My name is Sean Conti, and here to discuss the game with me are Alex Zeese, Jamal Forrest, and Steve Thomas. How you guys doing?
Gosh, I mean, what can you say? Nobody should be that surprised about what happened today. You know, we've been doing this show long enough that I don't get too high or low about any of these games, you know, anymore. Yeah, I'm kind of numb to all of it.
No, very numb to it.
Nonetheless, this was pretty disappointing. I mean, it was boring.
Yeah, this was super boring.
Even the shutout isn't all that surprising, but they still look bad even getting shut out.
I just know after this I'm going to go in my backyard and do like a little slip and slide in the grass because that looked like fun.
How is the weather really that bad there?
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah, it's bad. It's pretty bad. But yeah, I think Steve pretty much described it perfectly. So I don't have to add on anything. We're used to it, and it's pretty numb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, although, let's be honest, you say there's no surprises, and there's maybe a little bit of a surprise, right? We all predicted, I think, somewhere in the 20s for points for the Niners. They didn't quite get up that much, so it was somewhat surprising in that regard. In general, I mean, think about it. You look really bad in a win against Miami, and you look better in a loss against San Francisco. So that's just so typical Redskins.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steve, you want to hit us with stats or something before we get into the details?
Okay, so Case Keenum was 9 for 12 for 77 yards.
All right.
And once you net out the sacks and whatnot, they had 50 yards in total passing net. Yeah. Yeah, Adrian Peterson was 20 for
Good
81,
grief.
50 yards. Attempt, a long 15 and 1 fumble, which turned out to be an important fumble. Wendell Smallwood was 5 for 23. Steven Sims had 1 carry for 0 yards on that inside draw thing they ran. Trey Quinn was the leading receiver, 2 receptions, 30 yards, which, I mean, just it's laughable. Wendell Smallwood, 1 for 18. Jeremy Sprinkle, 2 for 13. Terry McLaurin, 1 for 11. Steven Sims, 3 for 5. Paul Richardson, 1 target, no receptions. On defense, Matt Ioannidis was the leading tackler, 9 tackles, 8 solo. Drawn Payne, 7 tackles. John Bostic, 7. John Allen, 7. Troy Apke somehow had 7. Amazing. Yeah. Ryan Kerrigan and Montez Sweat combined for a sack, and then Noah Spence got another sack. That's the Redskins. For on the 49ers part, they frankly weren't much better. Jimmy Garoppolo was 12 for 21 for 151 yards, most of that coming in the third quarter. Second half, rather. Tevin Coleman, 20 carries, 62 yards. Matt Breida, 8 for 35. Garoppolo ran for 20 yards on his own right on 4 carries. Receiving-wise, Kendrick Bourne was the leading receiver. 3 for 69. Richie James was 1 for 40. George Kittle was 3 for 38.
Huh?
And that is the 49ers offense. And I'm not going through all their sacks. They had 3 sacks. D Ford got 1 on just the worst Morgan Moses play ever.
I don't know.
Yeah,
that
fair enough.
2014
Fair enough. By the way,
pretty bad too.
That's stats.
He's done the same thing.
He's had some doozies, but
Steve, how are you gonna dog Apke like that? By the way, in the stats, you can be like, somehow Apke comes away with something. I don't even understand. You can just nag a great interception, man. Can't you be happy for that?
Apke sucks. Okay.
How dare you? How dare you, Steve? You're You're banging the positivity drum all week, getting on my case for being negative. Look at you.
I don't know how
Can't
you
even
call
be
me
happy.
positive when I predicted it was going to be a 31-10 blowout.
Well, I got negative in my article, and you took issue with that. And you thought I was Debbie Downer over here.
Oh, hey.
It's an
S show of the season.
I'll
Who knows
make up
what
for
anyone?
You said it best, Sean.
Okay, there you go.
And it was an S show of a game. I mean, the fact that the top 2 tacklers were both defensive tacklers for the Redskins kind of tells you what happened in this football game. When's the last time you ever saw a stat sheet where the top 2 guys on any team were defensive linemen on tackles?
It's
rare.
It's happened. John Allen has had a lot of tackles in multiple games.
Yeah, but he's rarely the number 1 guy. Or number.
Usually it's Landon Collins.
It's usually a safety or a linebacker. That's how football goes. So,
question,
that's weird.
Do y'all think the score would have been worse if it was
makes sense.
weather conditions?
Oh, yeah, we would have gotten our ass handed to us.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, I guess, Sean, do you want to start with 40 offense, Redskins defense? That's where I was going with this.
Yeah,
the front seven played pretty well. Sure. Okay, I mean, to me, the keys to the game were slow down Matt Breida, don't let Kittle hurt you, right? And they actually did both of that. Aside from one play where Jimmy Moreland was covering Kittle, which is just absurd. They did pretty well the entire game. Breida went out with a concussion, but and then Tevin Coleman came in. But considering how good a run team they actually did pretty well. They held the 49ers to no touchdowns. The defense actually played well enough to win the game. To be, to be on the winning side.
Oh yeah, we held them to 9 points. That's technically enough to win.
I don't think the weather made too big of a difference because this is the way the 49ers play anyway.
Well, I think it did. If you watched how balls were flying when they left Garoppolo's hand and Case Keenum's hand, even with Garoppolo, everything was either a nosedive or you had to kind of lob it into the air to get any air under the ball.
No effect, but I don't know how it would have been. A whole lot worse. I think the defense just played pretty well.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be a whole lot worse. I just wanted to give people's thoughts. I do think though, and we saw it towards the tail end in the fourth quarter, like midway through the fourth quarter, the defense was starting to give way.
Yeah,
but. That kind of is predictable when your offense isn't doing anything. So when you're that bad throughout the game, offensively, I'm not too surprised by how they were starting to just let the Niners do whatever they wanted. But I don't think it would have played a big deal.
Yeah, there were a lot of mismatches. The Skins had Moreland on Kittle. You said Dunbar was there covering a tight end at one point. Which. Again, I don't know why you'd ever try and put a defensive back on a tight end like that. It's not.
Well, sometimes you can't help it. Sometimes
I guess.
If you're playing like a cover 2 zone, the tight end runs a square out, the corner's going to be on him. You can't help it. But in the case of the Kittle-Moreland one, that was Moreland was basically
it was man to man.
He was the interior corner on Kittle, and that's just kind of the way it goes. But I just, somehow that needs to be avoided, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know. You should really have safeties covering tight ends in my mind. I don't understand why you would do anything else.
Yeah, it's a mismatch. Yeah, well said. Well, look, what else can you really say about the Niners offense? I think, Steve, you said it right. This is the kind of football they play. For the first half, at least, it was a shutout all around, so we were playing well. I think Jamal hit the ball on the head. It started to give, really towards the end of the game when the offense has been able to, not been able to produce for 3 quarters. I don't know. What else can we say? This is, like we said, the only thing that's a surprise here is that they didn't score more points.
This is
more or less kind of what we figured would happen.
And again, I think the weather plays a bigger factor than Steve does because you just saw how sloppy the field was. Every play, somebody was sliding 10 feet across the field. Any diving catches were out of the picture. The weather played such a big factor into this. I don't know how you could say it didn't.
Yeah, but the 49ers are the top rushing team in football. They rushed more than any other team in the game, and they kind of proved it today. I think just the front seven.
Well,
the front seven played well. The weather didn't have anything to do with stopping these running backs. At or near the line of scrimmage before.
No, it's more of the passing game where it had an impact.
But they don't. Yeah, but again, I don't think this is going to be. I think we were just wrong, and I think the defense played, better than expected. And we were just wrong in calling 30 points.
Yeah, you can't expect more out of the defense than 9 points. That is enough. I think the defense absolutely did its job through the entire game, which is great to see in the Callahan and the post-Gruden era. It's great to see at least one unit on this team playing the full 60 minutes. So that's fantastic to see. It would have been nice to see something of a turnaround on offense, especially from the first half to the second half. If we could have just woken up a little bit, that would have been enough positivity.
So, question, I don't know if you all are tired of it, but we just have to ask because it's just part of our nature at this point. When are the coaches going to get tired of seeing Case Keenum play? It doesn't matter.
It should be now.
It doesn't even matter if they feel like the other person, Haskins, isn't ready yet. But when are they going to get tired of seeing Keenum play, knowing that he's not giving you much? I just don't. Personally, I'm just starting to second guess the whole process. Even though they want to be patient, that's fine. But you can't just keep throwing Keenum out there and just have the Ray Charles glasses on, just blind to everything that's going on with how he's playing quarterback. It just doesn't. I don't understand it.
I'm glad you brought this up because actually I'm kind of over the Case Keenum experiment at this point. He's not really. He's not winning games. He's not seeing the field well. I'm kind of done with him. And at this point, I think they definitely just need to throw Dwayne out there, whether or not he's ready or not. It can't get worse.
If he can't run this offense, I'm sorry to interrupt you. If he can't run this offense, then get rid of him. What can you do? Because this isn't that complicated.
If you were taking the big picture thought process to it and saying Case was in here to buy some time for Haskins,
to run this offense,
okay, we bought that. We're halfway through the season now, or just about. I think it is getting to that point where you've got to make that switch because he's not doing anything, and he hasn't done anything, the last 3 games he started? He had one...
Well, really, the only one he had a good game, the Eagles game in Week 1. Other than that...
Well, I feel like Week 2 he at least put up, 200 yards or something like that? It was okay.
I mean, but he won.
Oh, yeah, no, I forgot about... Yeah, he was decent in the Cowboys game. I give him that.
Yeah, but, he's just kind of declined every week, and I know he's injured. They keep talking about this leg injury, and now they're adding in some kind of shoulder injury or arm injury. It's time. I think you really need to consider Haskins is either going to sink or swim. Maybe you got to kick him out of the nest now. And I'm mixing metaphors there. Sorry.
Well, here's 2 things. Personally, I'm fine with him. I envision when, based off what what's his name, Callahan. Based on what Callahan said in his initial conference, press conference, I feel like that he is going to be playing Haskins, and I think it'll be around the time, probably closer to the bye week, because that'll give him that extra week where they can fully focus on Haskins. Right. So I do think he'll get his time to play. But here's the second thing that we should mention too, because what I think happened when they played New York was kind of unfair in the sense that the comparisons between Daniel Jones and Dwayne Haskins was very rampant. And 4 weeks has come by, and you notice that Daniel Jones only had one good game since he became a starter, and that was against the Buccaneers. He's been playing terrible. He's been playing terrible ever since that Tampa Bay game. And even in the game against the Redskins, he played bad too. They just happened to get the W because we were worse. So I think it's important to note that even though a comparable guy like Daniel Jones got the start earlier in the year, and he was playing decent at the time, that's the perception. You have to remember he's showing that he is a rookie right now, and he's been showing that for a few weeks. So there is no bad plan if you're holding Haskins out to make sure he's as prepared as you can be when you're ready to put him in the game. So I just want to keep that out there for the people that's listening. If you are going to put Haskins in, just remember Daniel Jones started off good, but he ain't been doing bleep word since. I'm not going to cuss, but he ain't been doing nothing since that Tampa Bay.
And for the record, Bill Callahan said at the postgame press of the year. So this is all a moot discussion at this point, but personally, I'm totally over it. I don't see how he's really adding anything to the team. He's not making the offense more efficient, more effective. He's not scoring any points, basically. I mean, the Dolphins' defense is horrific, and they only put 17 points up under Case Keenum's leadership. So I just, I mean.
That shows you that Haskins is nowhere close.
That's
what that tells you.
Callahan also said this week that Haskins now the number 2 has earned the number 2 spot, and made a point to say in his comments today that Haskins has, or over the week that Haskins has improved.
Yeah, I mean, okay. If what we've seen out of Case, like we've all just been saying, isn't enough to show you that he's not it, and Haskins isn't the guy over that, then Haskins is nowhere near where he needs to be, and why the hell is he on this team, and did we blow a first-round pick on someone that's that light years away?
Don't tell me now I have to hear this crap from you two.
Oh, you do?
I thought you were smarter than this.
You thought wrong.
This is what the things trolls say.
No, this is not a troll at all. Well, how is this troll?
It's week 7, and you're questioning whether he should be on the team.
I'm saying we're seeing an F quality performance, and that's not enough to at least see your first round talent get some playing time and see what you got in him. We're seeing an F quality performance. If he's not better than an F, I got no words.
Well, let's tell you what. Let's get back to the game because I have thoughts. I think this offense looks scared today. I think they played scared. I think the coaches' game plan was way too conservative, even considering the weather.
Oh, man.
If Steve says something's too conservative, then it's way too conservative.
I'm saying the Redskins need to run, but they called a running play on 3rd and 8. When the game was still competitive.
Oh my goodness, the wide receivers sweep 3rd and 8, and you hand it off.
Yeah, you
had no chance.
Also, the fact that they tried it 3 more times after that. And it failed every time. Was unbelievable.
Sims jet sweep thing, but I think the coaches really had a bad day today. In that I just thought they played scared. I thought they were scared of the 49ers defense. I thought they showed no faith whatsoever. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo managed to throw the ball around the field a little bit in the second half, and we saw an attempt to do it. And I thought they were intimidated by the 49ers.
Yeah.
3 drives.
Here's
3 drives of negative yardage. Yeah. Sorry, Jamal. That's all I was going to say.
No, it's fine. It actually goes to my question. Like, I don't get it. Like, we understand who's calling the plays now. Kevin O'Connell is calling the plays. He had his promotion to offensive coordinator. Yep. But what? Like, all right, here we go. This is the question I'm trying to spit out. Is Bill Callahan influencing Kevin O'Connell's play calling style? Like, because I don't understand why a guy who played quarterback and Kevin O'Connell understands down and distances, situations, best like percentage plays, percent chances to do things, etc., things like that. Who is influencing Kevin O'Connell to call certain type of plays? Because that first drive was great. I'm not gonna. Is no other way to say it.
The longest drive of the game.
They messed
up.
That
was the longest one.
Yeah, and they messed up on the 3rd down, having to be a big one because you missed the field goal. But you messed up on that one play call. However, everything else was great. Did they get influenced by that one drive and say, we can just keep running it? We can keep doing what we were doing coming into the game? Because I don't understand why Kevin O'Connell would continue to play the way call plays the way he was doing it. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think he's being influenced at this point. I really don't understand a guy who played quarterback is calling the plays the way that he did.
Well, I think that...
Unless he really doesn't trust Keenum.
Well, I think, judging by the fact that Keenum couldn't throw a ball more than 5 feet, I don't blame anyone for not trusting him in that game. Here's my thing about when we talked about the quarterback controversy a minute ago. Keenum has no arm strength, especially with a wet football. That became very evident very quickly. Haskins, for all his flaws, we know he has a good arm. And, he could have at least gotten the ball out there beyond a couple screen plays, a couple dump-off passes. Keenum's balls all just dropped like rocks the second they left his hand, man. It was awful. So, I don't blame O'Connell for calling a conservative game because Keenum couldn't throw the ball.
Keenum does have some arm strength. First of all,
he didn't today.
His arm is stronger than Colt McCoy's. But
that's not saying my arm's stronger than Colt McCoy's.
There's a game plan, okay? I mean, Kevin O'Connell isn't. First of all, I doubt that Kevin O'Connell's calling plays in a vacuum. First of all, I mean, the head coach is influencing this.
Oh well,
but number two, there's a game plan. I mean, they didn't just make this up on the fly. I mean, this was the plan from go. I mean, they planned to run this many times. It wouldn't surprise me if the first however many plays are scripted. Because teams do that a lot. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of a team effort, and I blame the leader. This is the Bill Callahan show as far as I'm concerned. I don't care if Kevin O'Connell's literally calling the plays. I mean, Bill Callahan's a coach. He developed the game plan, and Kevin O'Connell's acting under his direction. And I thought they were just intimidated by the 49ers. They made no effort to try and push the ball downfield at all. Almost none.
Yeah.
And yes,
I don't think they could if they tried.
They didn't try. They didn't try. I mean, we had, was it 11 pass attempts?
Yeah, or 12. I think that it was 12 altogether.
It was 12. Yeah. But one of those was like that inside pitch thing. So, they really had 11 pass attempts, real pass attempts on the day. I mean, that's just pathetic.
Yeah.
It's pathetic. That's not balance either. I felt like I was watching Army in 1968. I really did,
Yeah, it's just too bad. It's hard to make an assessment. We don't want to see so much passing, so we want to see more running. We see more running, but it doesn't work because the personnel's just not there. This is a hard team to assess right now. But, if we're talking about the difference between Gruden's coaching, or the coaching under Gruden, rather, and the coaching under Callahan, what are we seeing as the difference? It's more runs, and is there anything else that we can necessarily point to?
Adrian Peterson's running...
That's
out
the one.
Of the eye. There's a fullback.
It's the run. It's the runs. Is there anything we're seeing in the passing game that he's doing differently, or personnel that we're seeing any different?
Oh no,
it's the same thing. It's just
the passing scheme's been the exact same from what I can tell.
Right. They didn't really have a passing scheme today, though. They really kind of didn't have a passing scheme.
No, it like you said, it was 1968 football. It's a lot of screens and, not a lot else.
Yeah, obviously I'm kidding about that. Because Army runs the triple option, and I'm kidding. But, it looked like a different era of football. And the Redskins need to be a running team. I'm not saying that. But, you have to have some balance. The 49ers were stacked. The reason the running game died halfway in the second quarter is that the 49ers started stacking the box. They had eight in the box, and overload. That's why, the running game kind of stalled. Well, you sort of need to keep them honest, and they just didn't do that, And if if Keenum can't throw 40 yards downfield because it's a driving rainstorm or whatever, that doesn't mean you can't run other things, and they just made no effort to do that.
Well, I think the biggest issue that I'm starting to notice for all the people who are fans of like Trey Quinn or Steve Sims is we don't have another option over the middle with this passing game right now. And these receivers are not great slot receivers. We don't have a good tight end.
Yeah.
Well, that's the tight end territory. That's why you miss a Pro
Jordan
Bowl
Reed
like
or Vernon Davis. Yeah.
That's precisely.
Even to this point, Vernon Davis, he can provide you something with his speed. Mm-hmm. He ain't necessarily going to catch the ball, but he can still stretch the defense or stretch the field.
So. When teams go in the box, you need somebody inside who can get the ball.
Well, and Jamal's favorite son, Jeremy Sprinkle, hasn't really showed us much either.
Yeah, he hasn't. We're not going to go down that road.
You don't want to go down that road.
He was cool. Yeah, I'm about to say he was cool with me a couple years ago. And he's getting his opportunities now, so that's basically what I asked for. But yeah, he's not like no premier tight end or anything like that. Supplemental guy.
Yeah.
But to your point, he ain't doing nothing.
And the tight end group is a wreck. They really are. They're down to, first of all, like their 29th string tight end at this point.
I saw some white dude who I didn't recognize.
That was Hint. I'm going to pronounce his name right. The guy from Alabama, Hentages, I think his name is pronounced. Don't hold me.
Okay.
To that. That's who that was. That was the guy they signed off the street, who was from the Alabama contingent. That's who the white guy.
Hey, guy, do you want to play tight end today?
Mm-hmm.
We got a game
exactly.
at 1 o'clock.
Hey, you look like you're not quite fast enough to play receiver.
Right. But anyway, so
we got 500.
What else can you say about the offense? On the one really bad blown Morgan Moses play, it looked to me like he didn't have the snap count. Like, he thought it was 3 and it was 2 or something like that because he literally didn't move at all.
Well,
and
he was literally looking inside when at the center when the snap happened.
Just as D Ford was running past him,
right.
decided to look over and thought he might move. So I kind of think that he just didn't have the snap count right, personally, because everybody else got it from him.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one thing we haven't talked much about as the fan base is the supposed strength of this team, the center, right guard, right tackle on that line. It's really been a problem all year.
Well, there were 3 holding calls on the right side of the Redskins' offensive line today.
Right.
2 on Scherf, 1 on Moses. I mean, what can you say?
I thought it was 2 on Sheriff, 1 on Chase Rouillet, but
I wrote Moses. That could have been Rouillet. I wrote it down as 76, but I could be wrong. But 2. There were definitely 2 on Scherf.
Right, and he's not been for a contract year. He has not played like the all-star guard that you'd expect him to play.
He's had his moments, where he's been good.
Yeah,
but he's not been great.
At the same time, would you call the offensive line really what's ailing this offense? Because you could really point your fingers any number of ways. Can you say it's that line? Today was 3 sacks, 27 yards. Today.
Well, at one point, you got to remember, just a few weeks ago, we were talking about how the left side of the line was doing just fine, and the right side was the weirdest thing because they were not playing good. And I think that's still a relevant thing to say, not in terms of just what side, but just in general. You're not really doing much up front. Mm-hmm. So it's like a trickle down effect. That offensive line is still not that good. And then the mental mistakes in terms of hand placement and false starts or in holdings and things like that. Just understanding where you need to be when a defender is up or on contact. Excuse me. So, offensive line is still a problem. Is still a big issue with this team.
Yeah.
And then you get into the quarterback play, and then you get into that's about it really. Quarterback and offensive line.
I mean, the offensive line, they didn't do too bad in pass protection today, but the Redskins barely passed the ball, so I don't know if it's really a fair test, but they've been atrocious in run blocking this year. There's no doubt about that. Yeah. They've been horrible in run blocking.
Even today when I counted on that 4th down, AP got hit 2 yards in the backfield.
Yeah, but he also broke. He kind of stutter stepped and broke left, and I didn't understand why he didn't just dive forward. It was only a yard.
Yeah, I get you.
I kind of put that one on AP personally, but I think he could have got a yard. But it was pointless to discuss because that play should have been a quarterback sneak. Everybody else in the world would have run a quarterback sneak. Instead, we run the running back 4 yards deep in the backfield. I think Bill Callahan deserves an F for today.
Yeah.
F minus. If there's an F minus, that's what he gets.
Any hope we had that he might be able to clean up or continue to clean up the penalty problem like he did last week in Miami, that kind of went away today. The team had a lot of penalties, 50 yards or something
I'll
like
hope
that.
ye who enter here.
Yeah, disappointing.
I just think it's funny from a Redskins standpoint how last week, leading into the Miami game, which was so predictable, by the way, we kind of predicted this. They preached throughout the week all the changes that were going to be made to this team and, what was so different from Gruden to Callahan and why players are talking about this monumental change and differences between, the structure and the schedule and things like that. And you're doing that heading into the game against the Dolphins because you're pretty much expecting to beat the Dolphins. And then this week, and you guys can correct me because obviously you guys know I've been pretty busy, so I can't tell you too much about what's going on with the Redskins media. However, I heard little to nothing in terms of what players or what reporters are saying about the practice methods or the noise that's been coming out of Redskins camp or Redskins
heard a little bit. Heard a little bit come out.
And then you go into this week and you get shut out.
Right.
You get shut out against the Niners, and all of a sudden there's no mention about these new changes and these new habits contributing to them playing a little bit better against a better team.
Wait a minute. So the penalty thing has been better, okay? I mean, the Redskins were getting
to what extent?
Well, I mean, they were getting 12, 13, 14 penalties a game. maybe not 14. I don't know if we ever got 14, but they were over 10 penalties a game averaging. They had very few. I want to say 6 maybe last week, and they only actually had 8 penalties today, which is significantly better. And one of the changes said, it's not great, okay, but we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm about to say, there we go. That's what.
It's better, but that's like you're failing algebra, and you improved up to a D, you improved. That's kind of where we are.
Yeah.
But you still fail at the end of the year.
Exactly.
You still got to take the class again.
And that's why I'm with Jamal, because when I see these articles, like, Jamal, they had this article come out about, like, Callahan forcing the team to do wind sprints or something like that. And it was just like, why heap so much praise on a team right away? It just emboldens the people that are making decisions. Just let it ride out.
They have heaped praise on it. Have anybody really heaped praise on it?
Yeah,
look, you got to understand the tone that these guys report these things. Like, the media, it's a tone. Like, this is what's different. This is why this is going to contribute to XYZ down the road.
Agreed. Exactly.
That really does nothing. You still have to win on the field, and I never liked what they were doing last week, and I'm not glad that they lost, but at the same time, it's like, well, did you really think last week what you were doing is going to drastically contribute to how these guys are playing on the field? It's not.
Agreed.
It's not.
I think we all should have expected. We all did expect a low-scoring game from the Redskins. This week they were never going to score a lot of points against the 49ers. So what's most disappointing about today is that you held the 49ers under 10 points and you still can't do anything.
Right.
We all expected a run-centric offense, and they should have a run-centric offense, but we've got 26 runs and 12 passes.
Yeah.
I just think it was a bad coaching job. Today, even considering the weather, but listen, the 49ers managed, 21 pass attempts.
Yeah. And like 300 yards.
What's that, Joel?
How many pass attempts did the Redskins have?
12. And one was the pitch inside to Sims, so it was really 11.
Oh, and don't forget, we had like 3 sacks, so those are technically pass attempts that failed miserably.
Yeah, I could. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so 15 pass attempts. I get it.
Yeah, that's a
15 dropbacks.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, 15 dropbacks. But it just wasn't.
Look,
it just wasn't a balanced game plan.
Look, when you go 3 and out constantly, like Jamal said, we had one good drive this entire game. It was like the first drive. After that, you can't sustain a drive. The offense can't even get into a rhythm and a momentum. I don't know. What can you say?
Even despite all that, though. Even in spite of all that, what was really sad is the Redskins were in this game until
through halftime.
AP had that fumble.
Yep.
Yeah.
That was when that was in the fourth quarter. They were driving and kind of moving the ball there, and then the fumble just killed the game.
Yeah, we could have been at 3-3 there, and that's a totally different game.
The other thing that killed the game was the refs blowing the fumble.
Oh,
yeah.
That one really hurt. I've never heard of a play being blown dead after the whistle, after the plays, the ball's been snapped because the refs claim they were out of position. Somebody needs to be fired for that. Yeah. They won't be.
I have seen that once before in a preseason game, never in a regular season.
There you go. You got it.
That's a preseason thing.
Yeah, and so nothing seems to happen to these officials. The NFL never apologizes for these officials. They never say anything. They never criticize them.
They fine players for criticizing them.
Yeah, and it's high time that these officials need to be called out for the poor job they're doing. And I think their job they've been doing this year has been especially bad. They're like affecting and ruining games at this point. They affected this game. That play, that was a fumble.
Yep.
That could have changed the game. And that really, if you want to see me frustrated, it's over the officials. It's not really so much on the Redskins play because, at this point, we're numb to it. Yeah. But the officials doing this badly, it's just so frustrating.
Yeah, and I think it got glossed over by the people calling the play on the TV broadcast. They're just like, oh, and that happened. Whoops.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Looks like too bad for you.
It's hard to muster up too much indignation for a team like the Redskins right now, so I get it. Let's do some game balls, guys, and put the kibosh on this one. Yeah, we got to do it. So, I'll go ahead and kick us off here. Redskins. On a day like this, offensively, it's tough. Peterson seems like more or less the obvious choice. Can you really give it to Peterson on a day when he's got that brutal fumble? Probably. I'm going to give it to him. Defense, this is kind of cool. There's a couple names I'm considering that I haven't given one to this year. I think I'm going to go with Kerrigan, though, because he had 2 tackles for a loss. He got credited with the half sack, and it seems like maybe he's going to continue that trend of waking up towards the midpoint to end of the season. Yeah, so I'm gonna give it to Kerrigan this week. How about you guys?
Okay. I'm still thinking. Somebody go.
I can go because it'll be quick. So I have Adrian Peterson on offense, and then I have the stat patter Ryan Kerrigan.
There you go.
On defense.
Sweet.
I truly at this point, it's gonna be quick, but I truly at this point do dislike Ryan Kerrigan. I think he's a good player, but I don't think I just think he's extremely overrated. This case was another example of him taking advantage of poor offensive tackles for a team, and he got himself 2 sacks. And nobody's going to bat an eye at the end of the season when he ends up with about 8 or 9 sacks, and they call him Mr. Consistent. And I'm like, I'm going crazy mentally because this guy is not as good as people pay him to be, and it frustrates me. But he got himself a couple sacks today, and he got it against one of the underwhelming opponent. I'll put it that way. So congrats to him. I hope he keeps showing out to the fans that doesn't think that that does think he's extremely overrated. So.
Okay, so I'm not giving Adrian Peterson a game ball. I mean, you had the key fumble in the game that turned the momentum. You don't deserve a game ball. I'm giving my offensive game ball to Jimmy Garoppolo. Sorry,
Steve, you can't keep doing that.
I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. Listen, Jimmy,
that's true.
What Jimmy did, Jimmy opened up his game just enough in the second half to keep the Redskins off balance, change the tide of the game just a little bit. You know, I thought Jimmy Garoppolo was the biggest. Yes, he had a turnover. He had the interception. But nobody deserves a game ball, truth be told. Both sides' offense were terrible. But if you make me give a game ball, I'm giving it to Jimmy because he passed the ball just enough at just the right time to affect the game, throw the Redskins off balance. And, you know, I thought he affected the game the most. I refused to give Adrian Peterson a game ball today when he had a critical fumble. So, no, screw him. So, Jimmy Garoppolo, and I want that on the chart on the site.
Wow, Steve. Just wow.
Hey, you were off the show one time, Sean, early this week. Who did I give it to a couple weeks ago, Alex? I gave it to the other side.
I don't know, some other defensive player, and you give it to the other team more than you give it to our team at this point. I don't care.
I think I said I wanted Deron Payne and John Allen to march a game ball to somebody.
You did. Yes. I don't remember who, but it was somebody.
And on defense, I'm going to give the game ball to Matt Ioannidis.
Yeah.
I thought the front seven did very well. Yeah, I thought the front seven did very well today. They played well enough to win. I gave Allen the game ball last week, and Ioannidis led the team in tackles. So that unit collectively deserves some praise, and Ioannidis had the best stats, so I'm giving it to Ioannidis.
Nice.
All right, so on defense, I was going to go Kerrigan for the 2 half sacks. He got 2 half sacks, which equals 1 sack. I love when that happens in a football game.
He wasn't credited like that, by the way. Just for the record. He wasn't credited with 2 half sacks.
What was he credited with in the end?
1 half sack.
Oh, really? He wasn't credited with the second one?
Montez Sweat and Kerrigan got the half sack, and then Noah Spence was awarded the other sack. Excuse me. According to ESPN. Now, you know, ESPN isn't the be-all, end-all of stats. You know,
sure.
The NFL could credit it differently, but that's what ESPN has it credited as.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to say it was 2 half sacks. I think they should have a special half sack category because I think he's the king of half sacks, Kerrigan. He gets a lot of
Kerrigan, I like that. We'll call him that.
Yeah. So, but I'm actually going to give it to, my boy Fat Nat. The best defensive lineman. You heard me say it, yes. He's better than Allen, and he's better than Payne, and
he's having a down
deal with it.
He's not even nearly better than John Allen.
He might be. He's just
production
having a down year.
Via snap count, he is. So
snap count? What does the snap count prove? Snap count doesn't prove anything.
Snap count proves that he plays less snaps and does more.
He doesn't. He's not better. You're totally wrong.
And on offense, nobody should get anything because they all did nothing. It's a shutout.
Garoppolo. Join me, Alex, in giving it to Jimmy Garoppolo.
I can't even believe I gave out game balls. I need to go back to not doing that.
God, you guys are awful. You guys are no fun with the game balls this season. God, look what you're doing to us.
I think I've been fun. I think I have been fun with the game balls. I thought come up with 2 creative alternatives.
Yeah, I guess. We'll give you that. It's creative.
That's true. See,
We'll give you the creativity.
You know what? I'll give mine to Wendell Smallwood then, just to give it to somebody.
Oh my God!
That's
he didn't completely shit the bed. So
if somebody out there is listening can remember who I gave the game ball to,
I have it written down. It's on our website.
Somebody needs it, because I can't remember. It was like John Allen and Deron Payne present the game ball to somebody. I can't remember what it was.
It was some big name player for the Patriots or something.
Yeah, something like that.
Jesus. Okay.
One more thing. How many times is the FedEx Field staff going to play "Sweet Child of Mine" between plays?
I told you, Steve, they only have a copyright to like 8 songs or something like that.
Is that it? Is Guns N' Roses the only? I love Guns N' Roses. I love the song. It's a great song. But by the 10th time I heard it, I was over it. That's all.
Well, they've played the same intro theme song, and I can't remember who it is. It's another 80s hair band type thing.
Intro? What? Intro? What do you mean?
Like when they introduce the players, they've had the same song there forever, for 10 years now. And yeah,
who is it? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It's like Back in Black or something. It's just generic hardcore 80s.
I'm all about that. I'm all about.
It's your type of music,
but we need more hair. But I'm just saying, I was done. I was tired of "Sweet Child of Mine" over and over and over and over and over again. That's all.
No, I don't blame you. It's like me when I go to any sporting event and they play Neil Diamond. Neil Diamond sucks. Stop playing Neil Diamond.
Wow. You know what? I'll leave our listeners with this. If a stadium plays a song and there's no one there to hear it, does it make a sound at all? Leave you guys with that.
That's the best line ever. We need to end the show right now.
I'll leave you guys with that thought. All right, we'll be back next week with a preview episode, so stick around on thehogstide.com for that.
And we got a short week this week, right? The Vikings is coming up.
That's right. We got a quick turnaround. So
we may as well just do the show right now.
Yeah, the Vikings on Thursday Night Football is going to be something special.
At least that leaves my Sunday free. I ain't got to watch this mess.
Yeah, there you go. Positivity. All right. Well, we'll leave you guys with that, and we will see you guys next episode right here on the Hogstide. Take care.
Sean, that might have been your best line.
Hi, everybody. I'm RJ Metzger.
And I'm Rachel Metzger.
And we're the Skeptical Skeptics.
Each week we talk about all the crazy things in the world, ranging from the paranormal to Bigfoot to UFOs.
And we look at it from the perspective of the believer, the skeptic, and everything in between.
So come check us out on the MSC Podcast Network.
Or go to skepticalskeptics.com and follow us at SkepSkepPod on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.